evening and welcome to the Laughing Monkey Music Show. Today I'm John Gallagher. John is from Raven. How are you, man?
I'm doing good, man. Good to be here.
Well, I'm glad you're back. Last time you were here, we were talking about your last album, which was just full of energy. Again, talking about an EP you come out. So this is exciting. You guys, 50 years. Congrats.
Thank you. It's
That is bananas. 50 years is
it's
bananas.
definitely hard to get your brain around, but it happened. I'm here to prove it.
It- it's amazing. I mean, most bands don't last that long. The fact that you've done it, just going back and looking at you guys have consistently had an album contract, consistently stayed pretty much who you are. And the energy hasn't changed. I mean, this new EP we're talking about is probably heavier than some of your earlier stuff. I mean, it's bananas, like
I
that
mean,
energy.
yeah, it's 50 years on. Obviously, technology's changed. You can capture the heaviness a lot more. But uh, we're having a ball. We're putting more energy into it, getting more out of it, and then enjoying it and appreciating it, obviously, more because we
Right.
know we're in rarefied air. We're ancient. We've been around 50 years. We're a legacy band. We've got all this history
Yeah.
behind us. But that does not define us. We're making new music and we're pushing boundaries and taking it somewhere else. And it's exciting. It's great.
How have you guys always maintained, like a lot of bands haven't kept with like record labels, even if you didn't have the best relationship at the end or during it, you've always managed to have an album out. You know what I mean? So some bands will go like 10, 20 years without, you guys have always found a home.
Yeah, it's obviously been difficult. I mean, when you're younger, we were on Neat Records, a small independent label. The guy was the cheapest guy in the world. We'd spend our days traveling on the bus 2 hours to go there and sit at his door and whine. When we going to play? When we going to do this? Da, da. And we got fed up with that. So the opportunity came to come to the States.
Mhm.
And then we faced a whole new set of people to whine at. Like we signed with Atlantic, and you think that's it, the pinnacle. And when you get there, nobody cares. Nobody cares about anything. All they care about is getting laid and doing drugs. That's literally all those people did. That's
Was
all
that
they
around, that
did.
was our mid 80s, right? 84,
Yeah,
85,
yeah,
Atlanta?
yeah, yeah. Like every bad Spinal Tap thing you could ever imagine.
Yeah. And,
Absolutely.
and the image was big too back then. Were they trying to
Yeah, well,
classify
there
you?
was
Because
a
I
lot
know
of,
like the athletic thing was kind of pushed forward more, but every band had an image back then. So
it
like,
was
where
all
were you guys
image.
on that?
80s was all image, and we got caught up into that too, obviously. One of our albums, The Pack is Back, is quite commercial. There was a lot of pressure from the record company, and it was all, you do this and we'll do that. And like fools, naive fools, we went along with that and didn't work out. So we had a situation where we said, well, we've got a record company that's trying to change what we are and not support it. What is the point of
Mhm.
that? And we made a hard decision in the middle of 1986 to say, from now on, I don't care. I'll eat cat food, but at least I'll be proud of what we're doing. And we did the Mad EP and Life's a Bitch. And, obviously many, many things changed over the years. And we went with a number of other record companies and had, similar bothers. But over the last, yeah, 15, 20 years, we had SPV who were very good for us. But for, certain reasons, we decided to move on and we've went with Silver Lining, who have been great for us so far. It's been really good. So, obviously in the smaller, slightly smaller companies, you've got dedicated people who love the music, and that makes a huge difference as opposed
It's
to
the new
bean
model too, though.
counters.
You know,
Huh?
it's the new model. It's the new model. I mean, that's where profits actually made from a lot of bands now is to smaller labels. You know,
Yeah.
you pick your audience. You
Yeah, you
know,
pick your audience, you have a smaller audience, but you do it smarter. And as far as the band's concerned, at least, you know, we make all the money as opposed to back then where there was six-figure budgets and we were getting, $20 per diem.
yeah.
Well, you're not
That's
getting
insane.
paid. You'll get paid when the album sells, when Christmas comes. And of course that never happened. And you're sitting there on the road with your 20 bucks thinking, why is my guitar tech getting 500 bucks a week? I can change strings.
Work for yourself.
Bye. See ya.
And that's the thing. I mean, you guys had a lot of rough years. I mean, on the road, everyone thinks, rock stars. I mean, you guys, that takes a lot. That's like 50 years to me is not just doing music as a career. To me, it's like the perseverance of it's like being a traveling salesman for 50 years on the road with a life at home and trying to balance your health and working for a crappy company, meaning, the bank, the labels aren't paying you. So to sort of stick to it and maintain the same level, though, of quality music. And, there's nothing wrong with a label early on in your career saying, trying to help a band, like, say you need to do this and a band doing it. That's not the hill you need to die on. It's like anybody in careers. We all have to make adjustments to our careers. Just music, for some reason, it feels like, oh my God, you changed yourself. I named somebody some other personal career that's in a career to be like you didn't have to change some of your thoughts when you were younger to move up or go over to try it. You know,
No,
it's
that's a whole
it's
crazy thing
silly.
with that. And you realize that, I mean, that was part of that thing way back in
Right.
'86. You got, I got to please me.
Well, that's the thing. But the fact
And
you
the
guys stood up for
band,
yourself
we have to
and
please the band. The
right.
band's happy with it, and everyone else then can, they can have an opinion, they can like it, they can hate it, they can come along on the journey with us. That's great. But once you turn around and go, okay, what does Joe Public want to hear? That's not creative in the artistic sense of the word. That's you know, it's logistics at that point. And I've done logistics. It's not fun. Don't want to do that. So
Do you find
we push. We have our own goals. We push forward musically, and we try to, you keep that integrity, and it rubs off. People see it, and they know you're doing it for the right reasons. They appreciate it. They feel the heart in what you're doing, and it works. It really does.
did you find because sometimes obviously album sales aren't what you live off of. There's been certain parts of the world that have always been good for you. Like we hit this area on tour X amount of months, it's going to cover up the rest of the year of tour. You know what I'm saying? Are there certain parts of the world that are just way better for Raven on tour?
We kind of have what you would call like a cult following everywhere. So
That's a good thing.
it's, our bread and butter touring has to be the States because of the amount of shows you can play.
Okay.
The startup costs are horrendous, but once you reach maybe 30 dates, everything's paid. Everything from then on is gravy. And that's when you start really making some money at it. We go out very
Okay.
lean, very hard, and like the last tour was 43 dates, and I think we had 3 days off, and they were all travel days to get, you know. So there's no, hanging out in the sun drinking martinis. That ain't happening. We work very hard.
Well, I mean, being that conscious, I mean, you would want to work if you're out in the world already. Why would you want to be like, every day you're not working is a day you could be making
Oh,
extra
that
money.
that drives us nuts when we've talked
You know,
to various agents and I'd say, okay, I've got the 7 dates for you in Outer Mongolia. It's like, and
you better pay
you
me well
know,
then.
you're paying me to get on a plane and spend 24 hours to get all the way over there, try to get over that, play a couple of days of shows and turn around and fly back. You go, why don't we do more?
Yeah.
It's counterproductive. So we always rail against that. And to be fair, in their defense, most of the other bands don't want to work that hard. I know bands for a fact that whine and cry if it's more than 10 dates. And it's like,
From
well,
coming over
why
to the US, coming to the US or just US bands. I can
come
see
to
US
the
bands because
US, anywhere.
yeah,
One band in particular who I won't name, yeah, they whine a lot. It happens, but we do the opposite. We whine if it's too short because, you maybe by your second, third gig, you're totally locked, you're in, and
right.
it just gets better and better musically for playing. But logistically and financially, it's very hard to do these onesie twosie things,
Right.
unless it's a festival where, commensurate the fees are an awful lot higher. And I mean, that certainly helps with things like Europe, where you're going to do a couple of festivals and you play some gigs in between, whatever. Financially, it's great. But playing those
And
festivals, you play one festival, it's like playing 10, 15 dates, people
nice.
wise. So it's a huge thing.
And it's good for the audience. It's good for the press for you. It's like people are like, oh, I've heard of Raven. Like, because people, if you're not in someone's sightline 100% of the time, they'll be like, what happened to that band, that artist, whatever, you name any artist. If they haven't had a hot single on a chart or something or a video, they're like, what happened to them? I'm like, a lot of times, like, they've had 10 albums, you know,
And
people go
it's
on just because you're not in your little world. People go on. And a big event like that is good because it puts you back out in front of people again that go, oh, yeah.
There's a couple of things with that too. One is it's an equal playing field, with the
Hmm.
exception of maybe the headline act, who will have exploding animals and buildings falling down production wise. Everyone is basically going out with a backline and quite often in daylight, and it separates the men from the boys. It's like, can you entertain with you on there playing music? As opposed to, hey, we spent $400,000 on a fire, was it a
Dragon.
rocket launcher or flame jets and all that nonsense. That's all great, but you got to have the core, the music and the showmanship and the entertainment portion of it. So that's great for us. It's just like, put us up in front of anyone. We'll do our thing, and you won't be
Well, it
thinking
seems
about
like
anybody else.
that
But
the festivals are pretty strong for audience. You have to be strong in front of them. You can't daylight. It doesn't matter. You just got to go out there and rock. I mean,
yeah, I mean that's our living room. That's our office. Absolutely. We go out there and do that. So that's it's just really cool to do that. And of course, those things are especially those European festivals are ultra professional. They've got the best equipment, they've got great road crew. It's so easy. You just walk on, do your quick check, find out nothing's working 30 seconds before you start and just go.
well, I think you guys have a great reputation. So let's talk about this. So the EP, 5 new songs, uh, 3 live songs on it. You can't take away the fire. It's great to go with the 50th anniversary title. Special edition was 1,000 copies, right? Signed.
1,000 copies, all signed, all autographed, yeah.
That's CDs for people if they want to get it. Obviously, it'll be streaming. It's not going to vanish because the album's fantastic. Our EP. But if you want to have a physical copy, it's limited. Once it's gone, it's gone. That's one thing
Yeah,
they're saying right now. So they're not going to do reprints. The band's going to sign them all, and that's it,
that's
right?
it. Get out there, find the link. It's on our Facebook, Instagram, webpage, all that other good stuff. Uh,
It'll be out the 14th, February 14th. I'm not sure the exact date. I'm going to this will air for we're watching this. It'll be before that date. So the 14th, February 14th is the official release date of the album, which will probably mean more on streaming, and then pre-orders will probably start shipping a little bit before that, probably, I assume,
yeah,
with the mail and stuff.
I'm supposedly getting today all the booklets, so I'll do my bits, get Mark to sign his, we'll get him the mic, he'll sign them,
That's a
send
lot of
them
signing,
back to
man.
the label, blah, blah, blah. They'll be shipping probably end of the first week in February, something like that. They have to try and lock it in with that date. So that's our
How long?
Valentine's Day massacre right there.
It's right. How long does it take to do that? 1,000 signatures. I always see you guys people doing those big signings, and it just looks like a nightmare to me.
It is. We famously did 3,000 copies of the first album at my old house back in Newcastle back in 1981, and it absolutely ruined my handwriting for life. I used to have a legible signature before then it just turned into bleh.
Well, how long will it take you to do 1,000 today? Like probably a good part of the day. It's a lot to do them
Uh,
neatly. I mean, because you want to do
yeah,
something nice. You don't want to
it'll
chicken
take a
scratch it.
couple of hours. Yeah, it will. The 3,000 took all day, and we were just like, we're not doing this again, hurry.
Well, and I want to bring up this
To
important
the
point
point,
because
but I got to tell you, to the point at the end, we were putting like ABC, fish, chips, and peas,
oh
and drew a fish, and we were going doolally. And I've had people come up to me because these were all exported to the States and go,
yeah,
"Is this you guys?" And we roll around the floor laughing. Fish, chips, and peas. Yeah, it's on there.
that's crazy. But that's a lot. I mean, and here's the thing I was gonna say is recently, when bands have done the signings, and I know like there's a controversy with Bon Jovi and other bands, a bunch of them are signed, and then some aren't officially signed, and that's why I think it's important for people to know that this is just 1,000. These are all personally signed. This is no printing thing.
No,
That's how, so this is a fan thing. This isn't, and I want to, just because, there are, it is a thing that's been lately out there with artists doing it. And I want to stress this is not that. This is you this afternoon doing it,
no, this is
tiring out your hand, getting carpal tunnel. Yeah. So, I mean, that's, the real deal. It's not, so that's why it's
the real
important. If you
deal.
want it, get it, you know.
Yep. And it's
So,
this EP. I mean, the last album we were super happy with it. The songs are great. The energy's off the charts, and we knew it was going to take a little longer to do the next album. We're writing right now, but Mike moved and he has to rebuild his studio.
mm,
And we did the last album, just the three of us in his studio. Mike engineered it, so we have to get that together before we can actually start recording.
okay.
So rather than leaving this, we hate this 18-month, 2 year creeps into three between releases. Uh, we have a lot of music and we want to put it out. So that's why, the opportunity came up, which is okay, let's put some music out and this will keep the ball rolling, keep us, like you said, in the public eye. And
Yeah.
it's a great gift. And
Well,
we always had fun doing EPs back in the day. We did the Crash Bang Wallop. We did there was a one with, what's it, Break the Chain and Born to Be Wild. We did the Mad EP, and it's a fun way to stretch out and just give some extra stuff back to the fans.
and it's long. It's not like sometimes an EP is like you put it on as just 4 songs and you're like, oh, this is like 8 songs. There's five original, I mean, five new songs and then three covers. So it's still long for an EP. It's not.
Definitely.
It's
And
actually
the
it's as
five
long as some of the
songs
albums I've
are,
had sent to me by people.
yeah, it's pushing to where we're going. When you get to hear the first song, Black and Blue, you'll need to take a break because that song's going to wipe your face off. It's
It's heavy.
probably one of the more intense things we've ever done. It's way up there. It's great.
How are you maintaining your voice? Because I mean, it's so strong on this album and this EP, whatever, and it hasn't wavered. I mean, a lot of your peers can barely sing some of the lower notes. You know?
Lots of tea,
Yeah,
Raven tea. There you go.
Raven T.
I look after myself. I've never drank. I never smoked. I never did any of the funny stuff. As long as you know, don't have the flu or any upper respiratory nonsense and get some sleep, we can do those 10, 15, 20 dates on the trot day after day. As long as I look after myself, we can do that. Uh, and it's like working out at the gym, working on a muscle. Within limits, you work it, it gets stronger, you know.
Right. But at some point as you get older, like you're not gonna get the same gains in the gym as you did 50 years ago. It's amazing. I mean, you guys, when you start out, you hit like was it like a 12-second note in one of the albums? I mean, so like when you did it, it's bananas. So I mean, you started the bar so high, and you're still hitting that bar. I mean, you're not. In fact, like I
No,
said, it's probably
I can
one of the
do
fastest,
I
heaviest
can
up.
do everything. I can do everything I've done over my career right now. And that is true. You'll find a lot of singers who really set the bar high as far as performance and
Mhm.
range. And as they deteriorate, it gets really, it gets sad to see some of these guys
A
go,
lot of them have said that though.
I
They said, "I
can't do
wish I
that
had
anymore.
known. I wouldn't have done that." They said, "I would have set it lower if I
They're
had
thinking,
known."
why did I do that?
Right.
I could have done something else. No one would have known the difference. So I mean, it's very easy in the studio to go, okay, I'll go nuts, I'll do this, I'll do this. You have to be a little mindful to go, when I'm on stage, you're not doing it, like what, two or three lines at a pop and go, oh, well, I can do better and redo it and redo it. So the whole thing is perfection. That that's asking for trouble.
Is it when?
No matter who you are, that's asking for trouble.
Well, I mean, I was listening, so I'm listening to it, and I'm listening to Black and Blue, and then Power Hungry, I mean, and then Keeping the Fire. All these songs are really great. They're all quite individual. But like when you're writing the songs, are you and recording them? Are you actually writing the songs and singing them while you're playing bass to see how it's going to work out? Or are you singing it, putting down the bass part separately, and then like when time comes to play, do them together? You're like, oh man, I didn't realize this could be a challenge. Like, you know what I'm saying? Are you incorporating the two together? I mean, you've been doing this for so long, but
It generally just works that we come up with the riffs, we arrange the song. I'll then come up with a bass line that orchestrates and makes sense rather than boom 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 all the way through. And then we'll come up with a melody, and then yeah, I have to put them together, and it has to work. And touch wood, very very rarely have I ever had to say, "Ooh, I can't do that because that's too hard," because they're completely different, walking,
right.
chewing gum, patting your head at the same time. There are a few that's happened, and there's one in the pile right now which has a like da 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 and da 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 da. They're completely different
Oh,
beats and
timing.
feels, and
Yeah.
it's just like this one's. If we ever get to finish it off, it's a son of a bitch. Yeah.
And as a
It's not
fan though,
impossible. You can always figure it out.
but as a fan, it's appreciated because, like I said, listen to this album and you say, I'll get the thing in the mail, an email, and be like, 50 years on. You're like, and I've been talked to you, and I've listened to your other albums, so I'm aware of your history. But for someone who hears a band for 50 years, they go, oh, this 50 years, they're not this album is not what you're expecting. If you've never heard the band in 50 years, because this sounds it's
No,
blistering, it's heavy,
we
it's
sound like
fast,
we're a
it's
bunch of feral 19-year-olds, and
yeah.
that's the way it always will. And when it doesn't sound like that, then it's pretty much time to sell insurance or something, This is the passion we have for what we do, you know.
And,
Um,
vocally, you sing it. You sing each one like you're not dialing either one. You're not just like playing bass and you're singing crazy or vice versa. Like you're literally doing both instruments very well. In some bands we two separate people doing it, which is very challenging unto itself. You know,
no, I appreciate that, but it has to be that way, We've got a reputation, we've got this bar where you can never go below and you keep pushing it, so you have to try and match that. And that goes with the whole thing with the songs. We're not just gonna, it would be the easiest thing in the world to pick up a guitar and go,
right?
I'm going down the highway, yeah. Oh, blah, hey, I can come up with a song in 2 seconds. But is it any good? Or is it repeating something you've done 1,000 times before? And by the same token, is it so far removed from everything you've done before that everyone go, what the hell are they doing? You know? So, you kind of have guide rails in a sense. It's like, well, this is who we are, but within that, can we push holes in that and try and do stuff that's
You've done
never
some
done?
different stuff though.
Oh
Like
yeah. Well, like on the
uh,
AP, we've never done anything like the wreckage before.
mhm.
And that's like a doomy, heavy blues.
Yeah, that is a heavy one.
And it really worked great. And it was like, let's do it. Let's do it on here. It's a great format to do something a little different. It'd be fun.
Well, and I think the reason I was going to say your vocals and your bass is good, but also the drums and obviously the guitars are all fantastic. I think I hate saying they're underrated. I don't think people appreciate you and know you guys as much musically as well as you are as other bands are. I don't think you get the full credit as far as being the musicians you are.
No, not at all.
At
My
this
my
point.
brother's like, to my mind, my brother, he's like a Richie Blackmore or a Jeff Beck or something. He's one of these guys that just comes up with stuff on the spur of the
Yeah,
moment.
he's phenomenal.
And he's melded with his instrument. His silly faces, he makes the noises to go with them, or vice versa. And he's, he can be an incredibly tasteful, and then he can be incredibly vicious. And as opposed to just destroying the guitar, he makes the sounds of a guitar being murdered. He can do those things. And technically, he's one of the best downstroke players you'll ever hear. I have no idea how he does that. And then you've got Mike Heller on drums. I mean, I don't know anyone
He's
better
a
than this
monster.
guy. He's like phenomenal. And he's bringing him into the fold has really kicked our ass and made us up our game. So, it's great to have that internal competition of just, throwing the
It does feel like
throwing the
there's a difference
ball
from when
around.
he came in to his albums from the last batch. And it's not a dig. It's just it feels almost different though. It's like a like when Deep Purple had Mach 2, Mach 3, like it feels like a different version of the band
Well,
because it
yeah,
just feels like
it's a
you take a
different
deep
thing.
breath
It's
and
kind of like, Judas Priest when they first got Les Binks in, or when they
yeah.
got what's his name, Scott in when they did Painkiller. It it's a huge change. It's a huge change in
Yeah.
the band. It really is. And the previous album before Make Extermination is a really good album. We worked
Oh
very
yeah.
hard on it. But when you've got three people and you change one of them, things are going to change. It really, it gives a whole different
It
flavor to
could be
what's going
inspiring or
on.
something if you guys are in the same old ass, whatever thought process. You get one new person, and then the other person starts thinking it just starts changing it. And there's
Yeah,
nothing bad about anybody because the other past drummers you've had, great, those are great albums. Just saying, it's just at this point in your career, you're just getting heavier. So it
yeah,
has made a difference. It's not like you're like slowing it down to becoming a blues band or something. 3/4 on blues, 20 minutes long,
yeah.
jazz.
And that, and people do that, and that's all fine. But when they start, like my brother said the other day, when they start bringing the chairs out and the acoustics, it's time to go right there. It's like, nah, 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 nah. We're not doing that. I'll sit and
You
play
know,
acoustic in the house. Sure, I've got it right here. I'll write an awful lot of songs on this, whether they're the heaviest or the lightest or whatever. But I don't see us bringing a couple of acoustics out on stage and sitting there and, doing Oh Susanna or whatever the hell.
it would be fun. So as I get to the end, I have a couple questions. The last couple songs that were the live ones, the thought behind choosing these songs for this group. Because I mean, you have so many songs to choose from. What made
We
these
just
three songs?
wanted, it was really the label that says, can we have some extras? It says, yeah, we'll put some live. Let's, 50th anniversary was kicking around, and it's like, let's do something new, something in the middle, and something from the beginning, as it were. So I just got a hold of a bootleg of us playing with Judas Priest in Holland,
Yeah,
1984. So there's the Don't Need Your Money.
don't need your money. Yeah.
I had I believe it's a board tape from Germany in 91 when we were touring with Running Wild. That's got Joe Hasselvander on drums, phenomenal on it. Architect of Fear, one of our heavier records for sure. So it
Hmm.
was great to have that on. And then something recent, which was from Jersey in, I think, 22 or 23, just a couple of years back, doing the power of the Metal City album.
Metal City.
And it's, you know, it within three songs you can see, yeah, these guys are still crazy. It's all
Well, that's
there.
what I'm saying. I mean, a lot of bands wouldn't do those dates. I got it. And I'm looking at the dates. I'm like, wow, that's quite a difference of time and quality to get it all together so it all sounds with a continuity because you don't want to, drastically when you're listening to it, you don't be like stopping and jerking when you hear like the production or something. So it all sounds great. But you really be like, what year was this thing? Because it's kind of a showcase, really, for
Yeah,
you
it's
guys.
there's a timeless kind of quality in that. And I mean that's in our set. We'll play brand new songs, we'll play like the last tour, which 50th anniversary tour, we went round the world. And we started playing Inquisitor, which was one of the first songs we ever wrote and one of the first we ever recorded. And it
Yeah.
slots in perfectly with something we did last week. So, there is there's definitely that continuity there. And, it's not like, oh, like say like AC/DC has that for sure. Yeah, it's the same. It's the same. It changes the stuff in there, but there's a common thread. Absolutely. You can tell it's us.
Who did the album work? The artwork is pretty sweet there.
There's this crazy guy called Maggot who Mike has been working with. Mike comes up with these crazy ideas, and this guy is equally out of his mind and brings them to light. And it's very difficult to find a graphic artist that takes direction. Most of them are like, oh, well, I think we should have, this character here needs 5 heads, not 2. Or your logo, I'm going to draw it without the letter A. I think it would be much better that way. And we've had to deal with that. Like our logo has a flash at the top. The amount of
Yeah,
times I've had to
that's
go
all.
back and go, where's the flash?
That's called
Oh,
a logo. That's your
it's like,
unless you're
oh, is that
rebranding.
is that part of your logo? It's like, yes, it is. Put it back on before I come there and strangle the shit out of you, please. So you always have to deal with that, and it gets annoying. So it's great with this guy where it's like, could you draw, you know, we want an oversized spider with military insignia, fire and rockets. Yep. What about this? That's cool. You know. So he'll
It's
he'll
a great cover.
he'll take direction and and make suggestions, but not just draw it and go, this is the way I think it should be. That gets annoying. If you want to do that,
It,
go be an artist and do your own stuff.
it's still art. It's still good. I mean, he's just taking direction. I mean, most people in the art world have to take direction. That's how things are done. You know.
It's
Yeah. Um.
you can always make suggestions and discuss, but we've had it so often in the past where it's just like, here's the finished article, I'm not changing it, and deal with it. That's good. You're fired. Next.
Especially 50 years in, I think you've got what you have. So as you tell people, February 14th, put the orders in now. Do you know how many albums you guys have sold? How much you have left for pre-order? How are we looking? It's so early in right now.
I just know how many we've done as far as I think this is the God knows, probably the 20th release. I know we've done like 15 albums.
Oh no, I meant for the pre-order. How are we doing for the pre-order? People, there's
Oh,
still
the
a lot
pre
in there that
I
they can
don't
get.
know. I think roughly half of them's gone already. And it's just been like 2 days, so
That's
that's
my
not
point for
bad.
people to hop on it. Don't be like, oh, there'll be some. If you
No,
really
no,
want
no,
it,
no, no. You
you need to
gotta
hop
you
on
gotta
it.
pick them up. You gotta pick them up.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Without doubt.
Um, last question is gonna be I want to thank you for being on the show. I appreciate it every time you're on, as I enjoy your music. And people don't just check out the EP. Go back and check out the other stuff. The wealth of material and how solid it is. It's it's pretty crazy actually. I think it's always been pretty high energy. I mean, you've had a couple albums that've been, you felt like the label kind of made you get a little, you know, commercial, or I think you a little not
This-
grungy, or in the 90s you didn't get an album was gold or something. You had a little bit of just a sound, which is kind of fun actually. You've had some different sounds, and
Yeah, I mean that was a strange time. That was like the early 90s, and I ju I just wrote a bunch of songs that like, I'm gonna avoid a whole bunch of tropes and just do stuff differently and let's see how
I
it
think it's a
comes
fun
out.
album. I just think it's just
And
different.
it's you follow it. You just follow the muse and see what comes out.
Yeah, it's just a little different. Um, touring. What's the plans for touring for the year coming
We
up?
we're gonna be concentrating on getting that studio together and writing. We've got a festival in Houston on March 20th, Hell's Heroes. We're booking dates in Europe for September and looking for the States to be before that or after it. So either August or October.
Oh,
That's the plan so
very good.
far. And festival season's coming up, so we'll throw a couple of them into the mix too. So it'll be good.
That's awesome.
But it's all
Oh,
prep
thank you.
on the next album. That's what we're thinking about now. That's in our heads.
That's awesome. Thank you. People, check out the album, John. Thanks for being on the show. And hopefully I'll see you when you come around touring this year.
Absolutely,
It'd be
man.
it'd be
We'll
it'd
be
be pretty
coming out.
awesome.
Watch this space. Watch this space.
I will actually. Yeah, people check out. Where do you want people to check out mostly? The socials, your website? Where's the best
Yeah,
spot for people?
ravenlunatics.com and official Raven on Facebook and Instagram. Yeah,
Okay, you heard it, people. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
you bet, man.